With parenting, and a story came across our desk about whether or not parents should make their children sit at the table and finish everything on their plate. And it's something that I'm sure a lot of us have experience with.
You know, and getting caught up in that quandary only makes you normal as a parent. Let me tell you what the research on this says. The research says that if we do force our kids to finish everything on their plate, we may be training them to disregard their bodily cues. And if we do that, we can set this child up for obesity come later life. The other concern that wasn't written up in the research that I saw with respect to this article, but the other concern that happens is as we force a child to do something that the child really doesn't want, and that is go against their bodily cues, we set ourselves up for power and control struggles with the child. We the parent, will always lose a power struggle over eating, because unless you're going to shove that food down the kid's gullet, the kid will win. So really, it's not healthy from a behavioral perspective or a health perspective to actually force a child to eat something when they're telling us they're already full.
You know, I hadn't thought about this one thing until you just started talking about a control struggle, and I'm wondering if forcing our kids to finish everything on their plate, can that lead to anorexia?
Well, you know, we typically won't see that in the younger child where we're concerned about these kinds of problems, but it certainly does set ourselves up for other power and control issues with our children.
One of the things that parents of younger kids all have in common, or most of us have in common, is it's hard to get them to eat the things they are supposed to eat. They like the treats, they like certain things, but when it comes to the vegetables, that's always a fight. And so how do you work around that while trying to get them to eat what they need without forcing them to finish everything?
Good question. So we got to back up a little bit and consider that the only food that the child has access to is what the parent brings into the home. And as tempting as sweets and salty foods are, if that is what we bring into the home, the child will develop a natural liking towards those things. So we really want to limit those foods right from birth. And those kids who are only exposed to the fruits, the vegetables, the proteins, that's what they come to expect. That is their norm. So we really want to delay introducing sweet, salty foods too soon, too early, and then when we do, it really has to be experienced by the child as something special, a little treat.
I would think that for parents who don't follow that advice or didn't follow that advice, and then suddenly dawns on them, okay, we've brought too many sweets into the house and we haven't done this the right way, it would be a huge torture, power struggle to try to set things right.
Correct. And so the challenge with that is rising above the child's protest, not getting angry with the child, maintaining our cool, but, hearing the child's protest, hearing their upset and saying, yeah, I hear you don't like this. I hear you don't want to eat it. You know what? I'm not going to force you. You don't have to. And, day after day that goes on, eventually the child's going to get hungry. And even if it's, well, I'll only eat a little, that kind of attitude, they will. And the parent shouldn't be throwing their attitude in their face or throwing the change in behavior in their face. It's not like, see, I told you you'd eat it. It's, I appreciate your making the effort, son or daughter. So we always want to be positive, even when we are setting limits and expectations.
I want to tell you a story about something that happened to me when my son was in junior kindergarten. There was a teaching assistant in the classroom, and they had I don't think they had lunch because he went to the daycare for lunch, but they had a snack time. So I would send him in a Ziploc bag with some cereal in it. And it was, probably cereal I shouldn't have been sending him, but just for the purpose of this story, it was cereal. It was a good cereal. So I gave him a lot one day and said, share it with your friends. And he came home, and then the next day I said, if you like that, I'll put that for you again. And he said, please don't put that cereal for me. I said, why not? Well, his teaching assistant made him finish the entire bag of cereal before he was allowed to get up from snack time. There was probably half of a box of cereal in this bag.
That's bizarre.
I mean, I couldn't believe it.
That's bizarre.
I know.
And by the way, that's assuming your son conveyed to you the story as it really happened.
Well, I phoned the school, and I spoke to the secretary who spoke to this woman, and the woman broke down in tears and admitted to it and said she was very sorry that she thought because I had sent him, because she said that's what your mother sent you, your parents sent you, you have to eat it all. So she did admit to doing it. I know.
Oh, my goodness.
Not a good idea.
No, it's not a good idea. We're not going to castigate that teacher or that person. I think they thought they were acting on your behalf, although misguided. Again, there is nothing in forcing a kid to eat. You don't want to set up that power struggle. In the same context, when kids are learning to toilet train, to poop in the potty, we don't want to set up a power struggle about pooping in the potty, because at the end of the day, all that kid needs to do is pinch their sphincter, and they will constipate themselves to prove you wrong.
And they'll walk around for days if you're trying to force them into it, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So as the parent learns to, in a sense, give up control, let the child get in touch with their own natural rhythms, when they've had enough, they go to the bathroom and they eat. Be mindful of what you bring into the house, because what you bring in the house sets up the precedent for what that child may prefer.
Gary Dierenfeld, thank you so much for this. It's always great to talk to you.
Thanks, Barb. All the best.
And same to you. Gary Dierenfeld, social worker, parenting columnist for the Hamilton Spectator. YourSocialWorker.com is the website.